Yeah, so my daughter, who's 10 years old, she can go and have a conversation with me and me not be here, right? And that's what I was on the pathway towards with the AI technology. It's like, okay, if I'm no longer here, can my essence still be represented in the world?
Focus on hitting your goals in every area of your business. Remember, the universe rewards the bold. A leader has to take the risks.
So what's going on, Mr. Mark? How you doing, Marcus? How are you, man?
I am fantastic. Are we jumping into the interview?
We're jumping, man. We're always going, man. We're always rolling with Daniel Alonzo. We are always rolling, man. So, Mr. Marcus Bell. So, tell me, art in the music business. How did it all begin? All right.
But I understand they used to play Mozart and Beethoven and a lot of classical music when she was pregnant. And from what I've found out from a couple of different neuroscientists, that when a pregnant mother does that, that it automatically starts to encode a child's brain, right? As it's forming. And if that's continued, was the case with me, that it increases some capacity. So I started there, and when I was 2 years old, they noticed that I hold my attention. So I'd be able to play with pennies for hours, and I'd be able to categorize them, start building things with them, and everything. And my father said, well, why don't we just try him on piano? And they got my grandmother's piano. And
sorry, but did your parents do music? Did your parents play music?
No.
Really?
No.
Okay.
They weren't musicians. My mother was a national tennis champion, and she played in the U.S. Open and she was a prodigy tennis player. So all of that happened in 2 years back in the 60s, and she traveled the country with Arthur Ashe and all of that. So she won a lot of awards and opened a lot of doors for the African-American tennis players that exist now. But she understood what a child prodigy, she was one, right? And because she not only had that ability, she also was a writer. So I found out she actually wrote lyrics on a record that came out. And a lot of people even know her, but a song out called Your Love. And so I have the vinyl. So when she passed away, I actually found the vinyl of that record. She wasn't a musician, but she was an incredible writer.
Wow. So there was a tiny bit of influence but you didn't know about it. You didn't know about it.
Yeah. I'd say creativity.
Okay.
More
she was a creative woman.
Yeah, she was a very creative, especially with language and writing. She used to write grants and raise millions of dollars for different nonprofit organizations. And she used to write speeches for the presidents of universities and, things like that. And so that creativity and that love for language is something that I definitely got from her. The musical abilities probably came from Mozart and Beethoven because they noticed when they got that first piano, I went over to the piano, and usually when kids get to a piano, they start banging on the piano like it's a drum. But for me, I went over and I intentionally started pressing the keys, and ooh, that's one. What does that sound like? And they said, you know what, let's just try him on piano lessons. And they discovered I was a child prodigy musician. That's
cool stuff, man. That's cool stuff.
Yeah. And I've been in the music industry literally my entire life.
So when, you've worked with, Nicki Minaj and Snoop Dogg, and I mean, what's that like, man? I mean, what's some behind the scenes on?
I would say that as someone that works with not just celebrity artists, but artists that are aspiring to become known, as well as entrepreneurs and business owners that are aiming to become known, activists, people with messages that are aiming to become known. And I've experienced in my own life, the biggest brands in the world, they're human. And what it looks like are human situations, right? Excitement, insecurities. And I like to say to who I call impactors that are in my program, the back kitchen sometimes is messy for people of influence and celebrity and high levels of visibility.
Why do you think it's so messy, man? Why do you think it's so messy?
Because we're messy as human beings. And
when you're talking celebrities and people, I mean, do you think that, I mean, it's a little bit regular, family living in, makes $52,000 a year?
I would say that it's all relative, because a family in a suburb making $52,000 a year can have as much drama happening in their lives in that small town as a celebrity does. The difference is that the celebrity is a public figure. And so their dramas oftentimes are looked for, captured intentionally to be broadcast publicly, right? And so therein lies a new set of skills. The more known you are, there's a different set of skills necessary to be able to interact with being a visible person, to interact with all the additional things that come on top of your regular humanness, right? Those considerations, having to perform when you're tired, when you have not had enough sleep, when you're sick, still being able to show up and give the energy and whatever people an audience expects. Just having to show up for a sales job and you working in a restaurant or something like that, right? You have to show up sometimes, even when you don't feel like it, right? These are similar things and different. Because
no, I get it. I get it, because I mean, and by the way, you are talking about some really important things, when it comes to success. I mean, you do things whether you feel like it or not. The show must go on. And I think, at least I've witnessed throughout all my years in business, so many people, they can't handle that. They have, so they got to take off 2 weeks, versus that champion mentality says, all right, I don't feel good today, but I still have to perform. I still have to go to that do that present, regardless of the way I feel. And so do you notice that that's a common denominator when it comes to successful people, especially in the music industry?
I would say that what you're pointing to and what I'm hearing, or what comes to mind inside of your question, is something that is epidemic worldwide, and that's mental health, right? And there's a world of, the first thing that comes to my mind is that actually you don't have to do anything, right? Now, there's the consequences of not doing. So for a recording artist, it may look like, oh my gosh, their mental health is compromised somehow, and they need to, and their exhaustion and so forth. So they need to cancel some tour dates or cancel a show, or a major injury happened. There's a celebrity artist partner with, and is dealing with some physical issues, stadium, concert to navigate. So when you're in that type of situation, to still perform, they're performing with the knowledge that this is just free, and then that's going to get handled. Now, this artist, fortunately, is able to do that, but sometimes you just got to take a break. Sometimes you just have to go sometimes you have to go and get your brain rewired, or therapy, or just do nothing for a period of time. And that's whether you're a recording artist, whether you're a business owner, an entrepreneur, whether you're a speaker. I think about the public speakers that I've supported in my programs who, you have to take a vocal rest, because you're touring like a recording artist, going around doing talks and speeches, and you're an athlete, basically. Recording artists and musicians are like athletes. And I would assert that people that are on speaker tours are like athletes as well, right? So you have to make sure you still rest. You have to have some practices in place. And so one of the things that I support people with is putting practices in place, right? To things that are likely to happen or may pop up. Because if you're aware of that, then you may not go and party at night after every show, right? If you know in the morning you have to go and do a morning show, right, where you're featuring the thing that you're out there promoting, right? And so those are, you may want to time out and put space in between performances or speaking engagements for rest, so that you are coming in it 100% well rested, or things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it. I get it. I mean, we all need a break. We all need a recharge sometimes.
Yes.
What I was kind of alluding to was the fact that I notice when I meet successful people that they do things whether they feel like it or not. I mean, sometimes you just don't feel like doing something. If I look, I mean, let's be honest, right? If I didn't feel like doing this podcast today, I would have still did it anyways, because I made a commitment to you and I made a commitment to myself, number two, and I'm going to follow through on my word, whether I feel like it or I don't. Now, again, I get your point as well. Obviously, I'm very fortunate in the fact that I can take lots of breaks, and I can take lots of vacations and rest and relaxation and things like that. But I think that that's a big difference between the people that seem to make it in whatever they're trying to make it in, and the ones that maybe don't make it so often.
I want to add to
yeah, please.
Thing. The third thing that you made a commitment to is to your audience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So there's this commitment, there's a commitment to self, and then there's commitment to the people that you're wanting to help with what you created. And when you put the audience in front, right, and that commitment to that audience or your customers or the people that you're supporting and helping, then all of a sudden that heightens that accountability to honor your word, to honor the thing that it is that you said that you're going to deliver. And yes, there is a difference between entrepreneurs and politicians and, public figures and people that operate with the mentality of someone that is world class, right? That has achieved amount of success in any industry. And usually that looks like you don't feel like doing, and doing a lot of things oftentimes looks like what I like to call intentional imbalances, where this whole notion of, oh, you can have a balanced life. There are over 24 different conditions of life, right? So you have your health, you have your, relationships, you have your money, you have your identity, you have knowledge, you have spirituality, you have, I can go on with the amount of different things that could be balanced. So it's actually, as far as I can tell, impossible to actually have a balanced life if you're living a big enough life. And so it occurs to me that it's better to be out not being balanced and saying, you know what, on launch right now, family, I'm not going to be as available. Girlfriend, wife, husband, whatever, whoever, partner won't be available for the next couple of months like I've been, because I am intentionally imbalanced and launching this thing out in the world that's going to make a difference for my audience, the people that I want to support like that. And that differentiator from what I've seen, and maybe you can attest to this as well, for those that have achieved massive amounts of success, it requires an aim, one, right? Some target that they're going for. And organizing life, time, energy, effort, specialized knowledge, seeking specialized knowledge, acquiring specialized knowledge, gaining resources towards that aim with all that you have.
Are there any dark secrets about the music industry that people don't want us to know, or that people just don't talk about?
So the thing that comes to my mind, and there's some books about this, like Hitmen and some other books that I read back in the, and that point to how the music industry was built by the mafia, right? And so a lot of people don't think about that. And when people make comments about throughout decades, right, since the existing music industry system, that, you know, artists get ripped off and all, you know, all these types of things, and that, you know, so much money doesn't make it to the right people, and there's a black box of uncollected money, and all these types of things. I look at it from a systems design perspective. The music industry system is doing what it was designed to do by whoever designed it. Just like there are algorithms on Spotify that decide how much, you know, artists gets paid. Someone designed that economy and how the economics run with that. And oftentimes that is hidden, right? Which is why I'm such is because of the trans. So when you can see that this fan bought this piece of merchandise or whatever, NFT, or stream this, right, and then it lives on a blockchain. Mm-hmm. You can see the transaction. You can see that wallets it went to, but there was a distribution that happened, and maybe if it's a private blockchain, you could see where it went and got compensated correctly and so forth. You know, that is the future of the music industry, I would assert. And so whatever dark secrets, which usually are economic, you know, oriented things, right? Like, you know, hiding money or, you know, not compensating someone or something like that, right? Those are usually the behind the curtain. I believe that in technology and AI, all of that is going to, you know, become more transparent. And so nowadays, with all the camera technology, and you can, you know, film and record things, you know, very often, as we're seeing now with, you know, some celebrities and the media that have been exposed for different behaviors in the past, that things become more transparent.
And we're going to see less and less of that. I mean, people are obviously, you know, behaving a little bit differently today, probably than, imagine what rock stars and musicians probably back, you know, 40, 50 years ago versus how they behave today. I bet you it's a different ball game because there's so many cameras. I mean, if you're a professional out there and you're doing stupid shit, I mean, you're going to get caught pretty quick. You'll be on the news very quickly. And if it's really bad, now some of the bad publicity could be good for you. They do say that any publicity is good publicity, but some of the bad things that probably people used to do, they might not want that to be shown to the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, it's a human thing, right? So there are people that aren't celebrities that do all kinds of things. You know, they take money from their employers. They take merchandise. They do all kinds of things. They lie about this or that, right? And so this is not something that is, you know, this is a human, right? The shadow self, if we were to take it there. So to me, it's about raising consciousness, right? Me raising my consciousness. Everyone that I work with on a mission to raise our individual consciousness and our collective consciousness. When we do that, then, you know, you could turn a camera on around me at all day long, right? Because I'm consistent with behavior and that's because I've done a lot of work on myself, right? I've spent millions of dollars in personal development and growing and examining, you know, myself as a human being, and I'm constantly growing and learning about myself. And because those people that, you know, are victimizing or victims, they're me, they're you. Those celebrities that get in a pickle and in a pinch, right? Because of, their amygdala got hijacked and they took some type of action that became public or national news or international news or something in that moment, right? A reputation, being diminished in an instant because of whatever reason. They can come up with a lot of different reasons why these things happen, but in that moment, that person is us. Right.
I had a mentor that used to always say that if you didn't want it to be broadcast on the nightly news, you shouldn't be doing it. And so that was always a reminder that you behave yourself, right? I mean, we're especially if you're a believer, you want to do the right thing. You want to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. You would want, to treat people well. You'd want to be compassionate and have empathy. You'd want to be, try not to get out of control or anything like that. So yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, these are human, and over time, and of course, all of us have made mistakes, and none of us are perfect. But your music industry, they're the ones that they're going to get. It's going on the news.
Yeah.
Their every little mistake is going on the news.
And it's okay to make mistakes, right? There are ways to mistakes, and there are so many examples of that, right? And I think about a young artist, and I look at it from a brain science standpoint. Some of the artists and celebrities out in the marketplace, their brain dead.
They're kids. They're
right,
kids.
Right. I mean, 24, was it 24, 25, 26? That's when your brain fully develops.
Right.
And so if you look at it from that standpoint, if I look at my 10-year-old and some of her behaviors, I'm like, okay, yeah, her brain's not completely all there yet.
Right.
And it's the same thing with, right. They're still growing and learning. The difference is growing and learning in public.
Right.
And that's the difference. And I had a speaking one time say this to me, because I was thinking, I was doing a lot of preparation for public speaking, giving talks and so forth, and with getting on stage to give a talk was different than how I was interacting in that environment. And the speaker coach said to me, Marcus, you have to remember, you're always on stage speaking. Every single moment that you're in communication, you're on stage speaking, whether that's with lights and elevated, or whether that's in a coffee shop in a conversation. You're always speaking and always on stage, and always have the opportunity to practice speaking.
Beyonce performed one of your tracks, right? On the Run tour, right? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Someone sent me a video of her, performing to one of those tracks. And
did you get, how much you get paid to do something like that?
Yeah, well, I won't get into the financial aspects of that particular.
Okay, all right.
But what I will say is that when you are creating music, if there's a musician that's listening, or you're writing something, you just never know. You never know when something that you've done years ago, because this was something that was done over 10 years ago. The guy created over 10 years ago. When that thing is going to be utilized in the future. So I've had songs, and I have some songs that are going to be coming out later this year on a couple of different artists that were done 7 years ago.
Wow.
Now, the audience won't know this, but because I'm a futurist musician and producer. And I'm a futurist in terms of business and in the marketplace and creating innovations, whether that's AI, innovation, whatever in business. Oftentimes I create things that will come out later, or people will get it later in time. And so speaking of Beyonce, her winning the country, best country award, I'll tell you a quick story. So back in the late 90s, I had a hip hop country that I had produced, right? And it was a merger of pop, hip hop, and country music. And I was just decades too early with it. So to be at the Grammys and that, when I had back in the 90s a thought that, oh, what if there was like a hip hop country, singer? And at the time I was an African American country singer that could be like the Whitney of country music. And to fast forward decades later and it's Beyonce, like, wow, I was to see that transformation.
And you were ahead of your time.
Well, I've had to, because I started noticing, and this is just with that, I would create something and it would be maybe too ahead. And I say, okay, well, when I start working with a new artist, how much time does it take for them to actually come a project? Same thing in business. You start a new business. How long does it take to get to the MVP? How long does it take before you get your first customer? Right. So I start looking at that and saying, oh, well, I'm noticing that when I work with an artist, it takes between 2 and 3 years before that song ends up on the charts.
Oh, wow. Okay. Didn't know that.
And so at least that's been my experience over time. You got to think about it. They have to finish up the album. They have to, organize the marketing and support around that thing. They have to test the single. They have to, so by the time you single, or by the time it becomes publicly recognized, at least this is how it's been in the past. I'm not talking about okay, we're going to release a song type, but let's say you're spending millions of dollars to actually create a big music brand. That doesn't happen overnight.
Right.
That is inside of a 2-3 year strategy. And so when I recognize, then I would record songs and record artists with that in mind, that this is going to be the sound 2-3 years from now. And so I can't go too far ahead. So balance and just make sure that it's a song that won't be outdated when it comes out, but still feels fresh, comes out, but not too future that it won't fit on whatever is playing on the radio then, or whatever's being streamed.
That's definitely a tough road, man. I mean, being in your industry, you have 30,000 songs in your music licensing company. That's a lot of songs, man. How does that manageable? Like, how do you control that? How do you, I'm just saying, even perspective, right? Like, how do you, how does a situation like that?
Yeah, I'm very fortunate because I've been in the sync licensing industry since the early 2000s. And this was before everyone sync licensing, when the royalties started dropping in other areas. And initially, it was quite challenging, partially because of the technology, and everything was very manual, and burning DVDs and sending things out. And now it's become a lot easier to manage a large catalog, because there are tools and AI tools to be able to tag and give descriptions to the music, to be able to capture the time, the tempo, the time signatures, all the different details that are useful for someone to find a song in my catalog. And basically we use these tools that are available, and we have our own tools as well that we've created, and how that manage that. We have sales team and so forth. I'm not involved in the day-to-day of that. I have someone that runs that part of my business, and that was a big relief when I could pass the baton over. But I know the business well because I was doing it myself and learning, and that's kind of part of my process. Everyone kind of operates a little differently. Every entrepreneur operates differently in this way, but my process is I like to do the thing first, then I understand what it takes. Because if I know what it takes, then I know what that's worth in relationship to my time, in relationship to how can be accomplished if someone is focused on it, right? So I know that I've gotten my workflow down to I can do, you know, I can do a hit song in an hour, right? And now with AI, I can do, and I've been starting to show this on my YouTube channel. I can do like 10 songs now with AI, great songs. I'm like, whoa, in an hour.
So
right?
AI really is, let's be honest, man. I mean, it is the wave of the future. There's no doubt about it. And I want to hit on that area because you basically, I mean, AI, man, you created the first character, Raven Light, and will AI, I mean, eventually all together?
I see AI not as a replacement, as an enhancement of our creativity, of our abilities to express. And Raven Light is a great example of that. We were talking about mental health before in our conversation, and they stand for mental health and well-being. And we brought in a team of neuroscientists to support in the creation of what now, which the more people listen to the music, the better they feel with the frequencies that we've put inside of the music. And even on her website, you can go in and there's like a workbook that people can download that has affirmations and different things like breathing techniques that they can access for their mental health. And so that to me is a human extension of an intention, right? And so, and kind of represents is what a new artist model can look like. Right?
And did you get, I mean, when you started doing this, did you get a lot of pushback? Did you get a lot of haters? Did you get a lot of people going, you are just crazy? Like, what are you doing creating a music character from AI and it's not even a real person? And how could you do this to all of the real human musicians that have been, putting their blood, sweat, and tears and all day long, and then you produce a hit in a 1 hour? Like, that is just absolutely horrible. I mean, did you get a little bit of that?
Yeah. As you were expressing that, we were talking about country music. So I went to a country music convention back in the 90s. And when I had that hip hop country project, I just wanted to test and see whether it was going to or not. A radio promoter, but he was a super fan of one of the songs on that project. And he was over at Def Jam. He went around to different record labels. He was trying to shop the project. And I said, well, let me get boots on the ground and see what the country music, community will think about. And this was around the time, Shania Twain is bringing the country music industry down by integrating pop in her music, right? This is that moment, right? Just to remind you that this moment in history. So I go to the country music convention and I think I was, if I was American there, it would have been one that was working there, type of thing. Coming up to me because what is this? At the time I had on like this hip hop, like this. I looked like a hip hop.
You look like Run DMC, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I look like that crowd, and intentionally, right? I didn't wear anything like that. I was like, okay, I want to, and I say this to people that are in my programs. When you're in an environment, sometimes you want to peacock, right? And be a magnet for the things that you're wanting to attract, right? It's not about hiding out. It's about standing out so that you can meet the aims that you have for, reaching people or like that. So anyway, I'm at this country music convention and I'm in line to get some food. And there's a woman in front of me who was basically in charge of a few radio stations around the country, country music radio stations around the country. And she's like, oh, so, what you doing here at this convention? It's like, oh, I'm here. I'm a knitter. I came up with a hip hop country song. The name of the song was called OK Daddy. And it was a co-done with this artist, Gary King. He is an incredible singer, writer. And just a quick story about Gary, because he's not a famous artist, but those that know Gary's voice and sound and so forth, he used to sing all country music in hotels when he was a kid. He had the twang and everything, and because he's a great songwriter, he was able to like this song was a great song. So and then I had like this hip hop beat over top of it, and he sounded great. He sounded like a country, he sounded like Garth Brooks. So basically, so I played her the song, and she reacted the way you were AI, right? She was like, "Oh no, the beats are happen, right? And but the song is good, but this can't happen, right?" And yes, there are people who are responding to AI, and this cannot happen. And I've been on panels at the Recording Academy, talking about new technology and AI, and my aim is to help people go from the fear, because that comes from fear, to curiosity. And then from curiosity, for those that are curious, I've created programs to help support musicians in using AI tools. I created tools to enhance their workflows and make life better for them. So those that go from curious to becoming a participator in using it as a creative tool, like I've experienced the whole of reaction, and it's all valid. Yes, there are going to be some musicians that will not be able to exist inside of what's being created, right? And then there'll be those that are going to be thriving. And then there are those that are going to be new that will start thriving. And it's the same thing that happened when the drum machine came out, right? There was this uproar. This is going to put drummers out of businesses, right? So they're still drummers.
I just think it's wild because it's like everything else, right? I've been in financial services for 30 years now. I just can't even believe I'm even saying that. But years I've been playing the game, teaching and training and coaching and mentoring, and when I started it was in 1996, everybody, Marcus, told me, it's a scam. It won't work. You're not going to make it. You need to go back to college. You need to do this and that. And every single one of those people. And then I was the first one to say, hey, we should probably start scanning our business. As I started becoming more successful in the business, we should start scanning. So scanners came out. Everybody thought, no, we need file cabinets. We need to stay with our. Then the cell phone came out, and then I have this big old key pins and on it and doing all these things, and people are saying, no, you can't do that because then if people. And then I got an iPad, and they said, no, don't do that because then the new recruits won't, think that they can make it in your business because they're going to have to buy all this stuff. And then next thing you know, I get a laptop. I'm texting over. I remember making fun of somebody texting, going, what is that all about? Like, why don't you just call them on the phone? I mean, why do you need to? It's like, and then you have that. And then now ChatGPT, my kids used to make fun of me. They're like, Dad, years ago, they're like, well, why, what are you, ChatGPT? Come on, just Google it. Why don't you do, and I just can't. And it's like, this is literally, I just explained in 60 seconds, the whole evolution of my life here with technology and knowing that's why I feel like I relate to you in a lot of ways, because I feel like I've been ahead of my time the entire time. And I've been telling people, come on, let's go. I mean, I was the first person in our New York Stock Exchange corporation to ever train media. So important to build a brand and create relationships and have conversations. And everybody told me I couldn't do this. The lawyers used to be asked to say that, and you can't do this. And I just kept pushing the envelope. And then all of a sudden now, what was thought of as crazy is what everybody does now.
Yeah. I'm so glad that you took us on that journey, because we've had similar journeys in that, and in terms of wealth building. I remember when I first got into crypto over 10 years ago now, maybe 12 years ago. And I remember I had a very good friend of, crypto, that's a bubble and a scam and all this. And I think Bitcoin was under $1,000 back then, right? And I it just made sense to me. I looked at the the price of Berkshire Hathaway, right? And I said, okay, well, wait a minute. If Berkshire Hathaway is, maybe it was $300,000
Back then, yeah.
yeah, back then. I don't remember the exact number, but I remember it was a number a lot more than $1,000. And I said, okay, so we have Berkshire Hathaway, and then there's Bitcoin that is going to be a global currency that people can use all around the world. Will the price of Bitcoin eventually match Berkshire Hathaway if it does all that it looks like it can do? And it clicked to me, and that answer was a resounding yeah. And so those friends of mine that were like, oh yeah, anti-crypto, they later, right, said, wow, you were kind of right about the crypto thing. But those friends of mine that invested, when I like to say, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not financial advice. It's still early,
right,
for those listening. But and I support people in my community and properly onboarding in the crypto and so forth, without having the problems that a lot of people have in terms of their things being hacked and all of that. So there's a way to go about it. But I remember I was last year at the Grammys, and two managers and an attorney ran into me. We ran into each other into the hallway, and they pulled me aside and they said, Marcus, thank you so much. And I didn't remember having these conversations with them, 8 years ago, right? They're like, thank you so much. I just took your advice, and my portfolio is so big right now, and I just watch it over years. I've just been watching it. I haven't touched it. Like you said, don't touch it. Just right. And I it feels like it's not even real. Like, what do I do? Right. And so when you have someone that's supporting you, that's a futurist, like Daniel, like me, or you're listening to podcasts, or you're listening to things that are putting you into the future, right? I would say this conversation, we're dancing in time, right? But this is a future conversation about what's possible with new technologies, with new ways to grow wealth, with new ways to interact with the world. And when you open yourself to those possibilities, they can be life-changing.
I have a question. The deep fake, right? That's this technology that's out today and make other people, I mean, they're basically bringing dead people to life again. Do you see dead people, dead artists making a comeback? Do you see that happening?
Oh, it's already happened.
Okay.
Universal is the biggest record label in music company, and they released a Christmas song the name of the artist escapes me now, but that song was very successful. Basically, clones, and there was a Spanish version of classic that was released. Now, I had done that. I had taken some songs of that into Spanish. That's one of the opportunities for music artists, no matter where you are with AI, the ability to take something that you've done in one language and translate it into a different language to reach another audience that's a big deal, right? And the Beatles that they won a Grammy based on the use of AI technology.
Wait. The Beatles just won a Grammy, really?
Yes.
And so what was the song? Was it an original song, or like what did they win?
It was a song that was completed it with AI.
Are you serious? And it came out. It's new music out there we could listen to.
Yeah. So
send me that song.
Yeah,
send me that song, because
yeah,
I would like to check that out.
So this is not even talking about one day. This is happening about that with myself. A friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, one of my first engineers or whatever, just had a stroke, right? And this was, I saw the text message before I came on this conversation with you, and I've been thinking about that, right? This conversation that we're having is going to get trained by AI, the things that I'm saying right now. We're building models right now. I have a Marcus Bell model that has my singing voice at different ages, my speaking voice, raccoons, and so forth. All the things that I've written a lot of books.
So am I actually talking to Marcus Bell right now? Like, are you Marcus Bell's AI, or am I actually talking to Marcus?
Do that for the next one.
But I think that would be cool to do that. We got to do the first. Well, maybe it's not the first, but we got to do I want to talk to your AI and let's have a conversation, man. That's badass, man.
Yeah. So my daughter, who's 10 years old, she can go and have a conversation with me and me not be here. Right.
Wow.
That's what I was on the pathway towards with the AI technology. It's like, okay, if I'm no longer here, can my essence still world, not with just what time, but be generative? Can new songs be created? Can new books be written? Can new courses and new areas of support based on my body of knowledge, based on my captured history, based on the interviews that I've done, the books that I've written, the songs that I've written, the conversations that I've had, like my journals, all of that. And the Marcus Bell model will be able to live forever.
What platform are you using for that Marcus Bell? Is it like a ChatGPT or something like that? What is a platform that you're putting that information?
Right. So I have a couple of platforms that I use for different purposes. So the voice model, I have used 11 Labs. That's one of the companies that's really great at it. We tested all of the things that come out around this, everything from HeyGen, I use Kling, I use Luma Labs Dream Machine, I use Kits, I use Moises, I have my specifically that aren't those platforms, APIs from OpenAI and using APIs from and Anthropic and so forth. And so it depends on what it's for. So I also have a GPT store that has a lot of the AI's knowledge in different areas. So sales, it's called the wealthgptstore.com. Wealth GPT store. And there, like, people have been models that I've trained on my specialized knowledge. And it's gotten like $250,000 contracts, gotten $75,000, have increased their income, have launched businesses just using my models. And so it's not just what we're using internally here in my company and that we're supporting other companies to create, just regular people are going in and using those to write books, to create podcasts, to do all types of things. And that is really exciting to me because I know that this is part of becoming immortal. Before, in order to be immortal, you would have to have a song, right? You would have to write a book, have your name etched in the building, like these types of things, but their essence can be expanded out in all ways. Video representation, audio representation, written representation. And then let's not talk about and VR and XR and all of those. Kind of next on my roadmap is, having me as a game character that can be in people's games, right? Like that.
Do you have any fears about AI?
I wouldn't call it a fear. I call it a deep concern. And my deep is for the people impacted by AI and machine technology and robotics merging, the millions of people in communities that have laborious jobs that are, not upskilling when what they repeatedly do can be done by a robot. And so my concern is for those people who, for whatever reason, are not embracing what is possible in their lives. And I have deep concern about people's purpose. So much so that I created an AI tool to help people find their purpose. So when, if you're in transition or you lost your job or you're thinking, wait a minute, something's coming on the horizon, or you have something deep inside of you that you know is not being expressed, I created a tool called a Purpose Finder, and that's in the Wealth GPT store for free, right? So people can go in and they can just put in whatever it is that they love, and things that they don't love. Oh, I don't like talking to people. Oh, I love talking to people. I love having these kinds of conversations and so forth. They put that in there and it will identify what could be someone's potential purpose. And that's one of the things. So I don't just have like a deep concern. I get at work on, offering a solution for that concern. And that's one of the things that I've created.
I think what you're saying too is that, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, but what I see is so many people are going to get left behind, and it's going to be a tragedy for a lot of people. A lot of people are going to miss out on opportunities because they were just stuck. And I continue to tell, I mean, I have an organization of 100 agents. I have 60 locations, and well, a lot of these people, I started 30 years ago. So imagine if they were 30 years old when they started, they're now, so they don't understand AI. They don't understand ChatGPT. They don't understand. I mean, like, Mom, all you got to do is just ask it whatever you want it, whatever you want it, like a friend. Talk to it like your business partner, your assistant, talk to it like that, like whatever you want it to find out for you. Just ask it. Just, be specific and just ask it what you need it, what you need. But unfortunately, there are so many places around the world that they don't have any sort of education. They're going to get left behind so far. And you wonder how many jobs are going to be taken, and what's going to happen to these villages and communities and these neighborhoods and, again, cities of people that all work in factories and things like that, where the computers are just going to take over and the factories are going to do everything. And these people are going to be, without much. And so I think that if somebody were to ask me what's my fear, that's a little bit of my fear, or concern, deep concern, because, I just, and hopefully if people are watching this podcast right now, hopefully you're thinking about how you can use technology to help your life and to continue to push your life forward and get educated about different things. So that way, to your benefit versus, your job maybe becoming eliminated one day. And instead of you complaining about that, you start focusing on the fact that you need to level up right now versus worrying about what might happen in the future, and which is probably going to happen in the future. People are going to lose their jobs. People are, jobs will be eliminated. I mean, look at Hollywood, look at the music industry. A lot of jobs have been eliminated. And that is just the journey of every single human since humans started. And it's not going to stop. And
so one of the things I would like to there are a couple of things. We, as human beings, identify who we are. What we do is an extension of who we are. And when we make that, then, I produce music. I'm Marcus, that is an entrepreneur, is a thinking partner and a coach for different sectors. I am Marcus, that is a father. I am Marcus, that is someone that humanity, a technologist that cares deeply about humanity, right? So when we separate those things out, then you can be Daniel that has 1,000 employees and so forth, and you can be Daniel who has the podcast. What happens with I can take care of some of the distinguishing that is useful because how your purpose gets expressed. The second thing that comes to mind is this woman. Her name is Ann Lawrence. She's been training in my programs, Wealth and Impact Boot Camp, since the beginning. She was in the first cohort. She's in her 70s. And when I started introducing AI into that community and showing them how to use the tools, Ann was just on a billboard in Times Square. This was something that would have not happened, right? She's a contributor to a book that's out, which is what had her on the Times Square. She is in my AI, training program every Monday. Every Monday she's on there. She's created a podcast. She's done it, and she's in her 70s. And she's embraced the technology and leveraging and using the technology as something that she does that is extending her expression in the world and her legacy. And when she started the program, she was not doing any of that, right? But she's excitedly engaging with technology. That came to mind when you were speaking was, what does left behind mean? What does that mean when people say left behind? And what comes to mind about that is the loss of job, the loss of revenue, the loss of purpose, because the thing that you identified as who you are and what you're doing, you're no longer doing that because that's been replaced by someone that has created a bot that does it, or someone that upskilled and now, they're doing it, like that, or loss of identity or like that. And so the opportunity is to not be naive and not be angry and not be caught off guard, but to that, well, wait a minute, how can new technologies enhance my specialized knowledge? What is it that I haven't done that this now makes possible? So my AI music artist, for example, we have a television show that it's about to start being pitched around Hollywood, around Ravenlight. Now, I thought it would be 2035 TV, like creating TV shows and films. And when I thought, well, what does AI make possible now? That's one of the things that is made possible. So now that goal in the future is actually happening now. There are 2 TV shows, I character, that the showrunner and the production company and everything, and it's going to be incredible when it's released to the public, because it's something that's innovating in the TV space. And so, but it came from that curiosity, that question, what can I do now that AI just empowers?
Powerful, man. I'm so just intrigued by this subject. I mean, literally this podcast can go on for 3 hours, easy, maybe 4. But I just,
a 3-day seminar,
this could be a 3-day seminar, because there's so many subjects to talk about, Marcus. I mean, there's so, just the thing that comes to my mind is the whole, what's next, so maybe that's the last question I'll give you, man. What's next? What do you see? What's the next thing, man? Everybody could maybe start thinking about and maybe start researching, and maybe something that's happening that maybe most people don't know about yet.
Okay, great. I think what's next, I spend time just thinking, and I just came from a blockchain, and it was a conference filled with builders on blockchain, doing things like, how do you have blockchain in the real estate market, right? So there are people that are designing things that allow you to use crypto to buy properties, right? The taking physical things and merging that with an AI. So the future to me looks like a world where all of these things merge, the singularity, if you will, the Internet of Things, of different catchphrases over time that people have used. But when you can take your data, your essence as data, and be able to exchange that, to be able to control your data and use blockchain technology to do that, and platforms paying you to be able to engage with who you are, like, you are an asset. I am an asset. And as a human being, and our behavior, even the way we say things, all those things are assets. If we start envision our essence, how we interact, our behaviors, the way we communicate, if we start looking at those as monetizable assets is the knowing that not only are human beings, but we have the opportunity based on the technology to now change that value that we have for and other.
Oh man, that's pretty deep stuff right there, man. That's another level. So it's happening though. I mean, I think an AI just sold like 100 of real estate. I don't know if you heard about that.
I didn't. I'm not surprised.
But yeah, you're not surprised. I mean, so the AI can talk to people at 3 o'clock in the morning. You know, the AI can talk to somebody at 2 o'clock in the morning. So it doesn't matter what time zone you're in. It doesn't matter. I mean, matter of fact, the guy that's working on my, my whole website and my landing pages and, all the things gathering leads for my building an AI right now. So, and the AI is going to be talking to my prospects, qualifying them before they actually book an appointment with me. So, which is going to allow me to spend less time with unqualified people, which is, I look at technology. It's real simple, man. It gives all of us humans more time to do things that we want, other things that we want to do, like spending time with our kids or going on vacation or, with your grandparents or making sure your, parents are okay. And I mean, there's so many other things us as humans like to do other than just work. I mean, I love work. I love what I do, but I also love just hanging out and being with my kids and, doing fun hobbies or activities. I love doing those things too. And so I think that people that criticize AI, they're saying that it's bad for humanity, but I think about it totally different. I think when I asked ChatGPT to give me an answer, I just saved 30 minutes of my life. I just saved an hour of, and so now I got that hour back. I go, okay, how can I have somebody else? Like maybe I get on the phone and I call somebody and I have a meaningful conversation with somebody about mental health or advice to change their life, or maybe I coached them on something, or maybe so every time I don't have to do something, I can do something else. And I just think having an assistant, because I look at Chat, my $20 a month assistant, that's really what I have. Instead of paying somebody $50,000 a year, I now have a $20 a month assistant that will help me with so many things in my life to give me more time to do the things that I want to do. And so, Marcus, we could go on and on and on. You need to tell our audience, because I know that people are going to want to reach out to you. They're going to want to pick your brain. They're going to want to get your coaching. They're going to want to read your books. They're going to want to listen to your AI, music and Raven, right? I just want to make sure I get that name right? Raven Light. And so they're going to want to see all this stuff, and we want to know how to stay in touch with you. So give us your Instagram, give us your website, give us your whatever, because we want to keep this.
Daniel, one for having me on. The place that people can go is MARCUS, Bellringer, BELLRINGER.com. So marcusbellringer.com. That'll take you to a link tree that will give you access to all my socials. If you're an Instagram person, if you're a Twitter person, if you're wherever you are, LinkedIn, you'll be able to find me there. And you'll also be able to access some of the courses. There's an AI course that's on that link tree as well. And and I'm always excited to bring people into the future now.
Well, you're definitely a visionary, and I'm just so happy that I got to meet you. And I look forward to getting to know you even better in the future. Take you up on that, man. We're gonna have a AI. I want to talk to you. Teach me some stuff off camera. You're going to teach me how to do some of these things. You're going to point me on Alonzo clone just right here, man. So I'm not there. So anyways, I want to learn how to do that. So, but anyway, with that said, Mark, hey, man, we appreciate you. And for everybody else that's watching, reach out to Marcus, give him a big high five, man. And just let him know that he's a special guy, and he's really trying to make the world a better place. I mean, I think he's already done that, but that's his pursuit, that is to make the world better. And that's probably something that, be a part of, is trying to make the world better. If everybody got up every day and said, hey, man, what could I do to make humanity a little bit better? Imagine the world that we could have. And so we're blessed that you're here, my man. Look forward to seeing you again. With that said, everybody, make sure that you continue to dream big after it. But most importantly, God bless you. We'll see you at the top.
Much love.
Hey, real quick, I just wanted to take 1 second to tell you about my book, Wealth on the Beach. I want you to go out on Amazon, check it out. The 11 universal laws to building financial freedom. Free? Don't you want to build some stability, some massive wealth? I mean, I'm going to talk to you about how I went from $7 an hour to over $21 million net worth. I've been financially free for over 20 years now, and life has been amazing. I've been able to travel the world. I've been able to raise my kids. I've been able to be there for them always. And it was all because I made some really good choices and decisions. And that's what those 11 laws are about. And I'm going to teach you about sales and leadership. And I'm going to teach you about how to, leave a legacy. I'm going to talk about taxes. I'm going to talk about law of attraction. I'm going to talk about leadership, pushing up people, building teams, you name it. We're going to talk about it. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner right now, get ready. Your life will never be the same.